Welcome back to the podcast, guys, and we're back with the Moondog again. She's been ripping into me for the last half an hour already, so I'm slowly giving up the will to live, but we'll get through it. Hey. But this episode, we're going to talk about if we were to start our health and fitness journey again, what would you do differently? Firstly, how long have you been training for?
How long have I been training for? Actually, not as long as I wish that I had been. I remember it being 21 and absolutely hating exercise. Like, I would not exercise. I joined a gym with my friend when I was 22, and we used to go to Marathons gym and then go and get Burger King straight after. And we used to think it was funny. So my fitness journey has not been that long lived, maybe 23, 24, and I'm 29. 29 now. So what is that, 5 years maybe? Yeah, 4 or 5 years. So mine's really not that long. I had a really active childhood, so snowboarding, water skiing, all the jazz, but just not actually really embracing the healthy life. So yeah, mine's not that long.
Yeah.
Yours is like an eternity.
Yeah, I think I came out the womb being active.
Yeah.
Literally. I played
I've been active, but not in our health and fitness life.
Yeah. In like proper health and fitness side of things, I think I probably started actually in the gym at 11 through strength and conditioning. Really lucky to be around amazing coaches from such a young age and learn a hell of a lot from them as well. And I wouldn't be where I am, who I am, doing what I am without those people, because it really ignited my passion for health and fitness. And it made me realize that when you do the work on something, guess what? You get results. Whereas I think so many kids, for example, go through school and they work their ass off, or they don't work their ass off. Then at the end of a term, it's like, here's an exam, well done, you passed or you failed. Fuck. Whereas the gym showed me that kind of week in, week out, you do the work, you see the progress. When my form got better, I added a little bit of weight, and also just got me around the right people, which was amazing. But rewind 5 years ago for me. If you were to give Anna some advice, who was starting a health and fitness journey, what would it be?
Are we not talking about fitness mistakes?
Same thing.
Oh, you go first.
Okay. Mine would be to get the most from the least. I think so many people go through their health and fitness journey basically thinking they need to do more. They think more is better. They go and they start doing German high volume training, doing 10 sets of 10 squat and things like this. And they're just more cardio, more steps, more workouts. Is completely wrong. The goal of training, especially in the beginning, is to get the best results that you possibly can from doing the least. And I know that sounds really contrary, but if you can do that and then you get incredible results and you hit a certain level, then when you hit that level and you hit that plateau, you've got more ammunition. If you were in a war or a fight, you wouldn't throw all of your ammunition, all of your troops at the fight, because if it didn't go to plan, you've got nothing as a backup. So I'm not saying you pussyfoot around your training. You go in and you do the least that you need to get the results that you want to, but it doesn't mean you have to think about more. I know I made so many mistakes previously where I was running ridiculous programs, doing stupid volume, and it probably just led to injuries rather than actually helping me achieve the goals that I wanted to.
Interesting. I think if I think about it, one of the things that I think I thought when I first started my fitness journey was that it would be like when I did that program or that thing, that would be it. And I think that was one of the foolish things that I thought, is that the fitness journey was the 6, 8, 12, 14 weeks, whatever it might be, that I'd worked with someone or had a personal trainer, whatever it might be, and that things wouldn't change. And I think that's been one of the biggest things that I've learned, and that I see that so many people never see, is that they expect to, when they're done with that thing, that one goal, that fat loss, whatever it might be, that 12-week training block, that they'll be done. But your fitness journey is then going to change again. Your body's going to change, your weight's going to change, the way you look, act, everything, the way you train is going to change, because your interests change, your desires change, don't they? I think that was one of the things that I almost wish I knew, because it just allows you to open your mind a lot more to trying different things as well. Yeah,
100%. And that's goal, is like seeing what you enjoy. Then on the other side of that, I think this is a bit of a side tangent, but I think it'll be useful for people. I think people then get caught in the other way where they just become too passive, and they're like, oh, it's fine, I'll stretch this out.
Yeah.
Because it's a lifestyle. And I'm like, yeah, it is a lifestyle, but you've got a fucking goal to achieve, so get it done. So it's, what would you say to someone who's like, maybe they've set a goal, but they're being a bit passive about it, and they're on a weight loss journey, okay? And they're like, oh, it's okay, I'm maintaining. But their goal isn't to maintain. Their goal is fat loss. So they're not they're not maintaining, they're failing to diet. What would you say to that woman?
I was going to say, yeah, you're failing to diet. I think it's about putting yourself in perspective. Is that I think it happens to a lot of women in that they'll lose a bit of weight and they feel good, and then getting into that next bit is the biggest challenge. But that's where a lot of people get lost, is in this sea of they've dieted but then they're maintaining but they're not, because what happens is your perception of maintenance is so wrong. And that's one of the issues that I created for myself, is that I was failing to diet. I'm also failing to maintain. So I had this perception that I could only eat 1,500 calories in a week, which these people will be doing because they're failing at a diet. But actually at the weekend, you're just eating loads of shit, or you're not tracking everything. So what you're doing is create this really challenged relationship with yourself, because you feel that that's the only place that you can maintain, because that's what you're doing. So that's one thing that I really think when you go into a diet, you have to go in with intent and say, right, okay, if you're not losing anymore, like if we have clients that aren't continuously losing, they have a longer period of time and they're just maintaining, but they feel like they're dieting, we'll just take them out of diet. Calories are going up. We must actually maintain and refresh their minds and then go back into it.
Yeah. It's about looking at it in like intervals rather than a steady state run.
And go in, like it's not forever. Like you have to make sacrifices, of course you do, when you're dieting. But I said to one of my girls the other day, I said, oh, what should I do about pudding? I said, you've got two choices. If you're happy with the progress you've made so far, go and eat the pudding. If you're happy, you're like, yeah, actually I've made some good progress, I'm really happy with what I am. I said, but like you said to me this week, you're not happy with the progress you've made and you don't know why your weight's not dropped. But now you're considering going and eat a pudding, which will take you over your calories. So you have the choice, and it depends what the outcome is that you want. And it's just like when we went back to about training sacrifice, that you have to make sacrifice, you have to make forced habits in order to get the outcome that you want.
2 decisions to absolutely everything: towards or away.
Yeah, and it's a penny. Who's it? I think it was Jen that said an analogy. She said about reminded us all of, you have a choice. You either put a penny in the jar of the old you, so you feed your old habits, or you put a penny in the jar of the new you, and you have to decide which one you do on that day. And every time you put a penny in the old jar, you're holding yourself back from the person that you want to be, just because you're feeding your old habit. But I feel like your old habit's like a gremlin, like it's there, like trying to pull you back, and you've literally got to like the Ghostbusters, like got to fight it off.
It's a great analogy, because I think when people hear those analogies, they can literally envision that when they've got that decision. I think the biggest thing is actually like slow down when people make decisions. Like actually think it through. What's the upside? What's the downside? Old habits, new habits.
Yeah.
Listen to the 2 gremlins on your shoulders, or the devil and the angel. Like, which one am I going to listen to here? And then which penny am I going to put in which pot? I think having the ability and the framework to be able to run through that is absolutely gold. I love that. One of the biggest mistakes that I made, and if I was to give advice to my younger self, would obviously, I was around amazing coaches from such a young age, and I was really lucky to have that. But it was all geared towards strength and conditioning. It was about how I performed, how strong I was, how I performed on the tennis court, on the rugby pitch. But I had an itch to scratch. I was a young kid. I wanted to look good. Okay. And I would go in the gym and I would just start throwing shit around. Like maybe my form was always okay because I got taught the right way, but I wasn't doing effective workouts. I was kind of winging it. And I would probably ask more questions. Okay. I would ask those coaches like, look, I'm really interested in this. I love this, but hey, how can I grow my chest? How can I grow my shoulders? Because I'm a young kid. I want to look good as well. So I think if you are in a situation and you've got access to people like on Instagram now, you can message us, you can message literally any coach a question, and I'm 100% sure they will just happily help you out. If you're curious or you're interested, save your time from scrolling through endless bullshit on Instagram or YouTube, and just ask someone who's either been there and done it or helped hundreds or thousands of people and do it. And you will literally take something that might have taken you a year to figure out, and you will do it in one conversation.
Like it. Ask for help. It's scary asking for help, because it is something that I encourage the girls to do when they go in the gym. If they're like, oh, I don't know about that exercise, I can't, I just don't know, I'm a bit scared of that machine. How do I use that machine? Is just go and ask someone that is in the gym. Then like the receptionist is not going to bite you. Like a PT is not going to bite you. They'll be like, yeah, let me just show you how to use the machine. I will. If I go into the gym and I'm like, what is that device? But I want to give it a go, I will just go and ask someone to show me how to use it. And there's no need to be embarrassed, because everybody had to learn how to use it at one point. It's just that person already knows before you. And it doesn't need to be a fear.
Yeah, 100%. It's people think the gym's this big scary place. The biggest thing I say is always everyone's there for the same reason. Whether their goal be fat loss, muscle building, marathon, triathlon, Ironman, Sally just wants to tone her bingo wings, whatever it might be, they're all there for one common goal, just to be better than they were yesterday.
Yeah.
And there's always that degree of relatability in the gym, so just don't be scared to reach out and ask for help for someone. Okay.
That was emotional.
What's another mistake you made?
Oh dear. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made that cost me a whole year of training was thinking that I was above warm-ups, foam rolling, stretching. And that sounds so basic, but I really thought I was above it. I was like, yeah, I'm invincible. I'm training. I was at CrossFit. I was going to the gym. I was training. It got to a point where I was doing like 12 sessions a week and I was just absolutely annihilating myself. But I was like, I was so strong. I was really fit. And I was like, I'm fully above this. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. And then boom, one day, patellas.
Should then walking like a cripple.
Yeah, but I couldn't run for a year. I couldn't train my lower body for a year. And it was like the biggest form of torture. But it was no one else's fault but my own. And it happens with so many people is that you're like, yeah, I don't need to do the warm-up. It doesn't matter. Oh, you'll pay. Yeah. And it was just the worst thing I'd ever done.
Just wait till it catches up.
You wait, it's coming for you. I hope it doesn't. But a lot of people it does, especially with running. Mm-hmm. I think that's been one of the biggest things with running is that I was then had to wait so long to get back into it because of something that I'd done. So don't miss your warm-ups.
Yeah. But I think to flip it and give people a positive look at that as well is like, yes, you're warming up to stay away from injury, but if you're anything like me or Anna, you want to get the most out of every single session.
Oh yeah, your performance.
Your performance is so much better if you actually warm up.
Yeah, that literally, if you go whether you go down to running or weight training, if you just go into a lift, so say you're hip thrusting 80 kilos, you go into the gym, you just lift that bar, your glutes are not engaged, they are not warmed up, and the amount that you'll get out of that movement is so low. You'll probably do your back in as well, so it'll just be like a triple whammy, but you'll get so much less out of that. And it's the same with running, isn't it? If you don't warm up and you go straight into a tempo, you're trying to run really fast, you are not going to get the same out of it because your heart rate's through the roof and your performance will be, significantly decreased. But a lot of people will say, oh yeah, I don't have the time to do warm-ups, and I'm like, well,
bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit because you'll be moaning when you can't go to the gym for 5 weeks because you've done your back in. So it's just really about it's a couple of minutes. Like before you warm up for a run, star jumps, running on the spot, literally just warm.
Star jumps on the spot and then start your run with 500 meters really, 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 really easy.
Yeah,
that's literally
slow.
all it needs to be. It doesn't have to be this ground breaking.
That was one of the biggest mistakes I made, which caused my injury. Is I remember putting on my shoes, swinging myself over my balcony, bang, out the door. I just absolutely tearing it because I was like in competition with everybody else on Instagram, trying to have like the fastest pace.
And then wonder why you feel like you're dying in your run as well.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, is this normal?
I love running. We're all good. We'll do one more. Mine would be, I would never, ever, ever bulk.
Oh, that's such a good one. I am in agreeal. That was one of the worst things I've ever done. Yeah. I was actually going to show you a picture. Right, I'll show you this picture on while we're on this. I actually literally just before we came, I saw it and I thought, do you know what? I did this bulk and I felt the worst I have ever felt. I felt devastated. Can you believe that's me?
Yeah.
I can't believe. I cannot believe.
How did you end up there?
I thought that's what I needed to do to gain muscle. And it's so interesting because I actually gained so much more muscle when I was at maintenance, of course, and that's how I learned that was the most valuable thing for me. But I wanted to go into a bulk and someone let me. I know I don't encourage it. Like we don't take our clients into bulks for that reason, is that I then had to go for a 16-week diet to lose all that body fat. And I felt it was so hard. It was so hard. And I didn't notice that I'd made any significant gain. But the biggest problem with most people is that you can't control yourself in a bulk. And that was my biggest challenge, is that I couldn't control myself around food once I had an abundance of food. So I was then so used to eating that much that I just gained so much body fat.
And you start undoing the healthy habits that you've actually created through a diet and a bit of a maintenance phase or reverse.
Oh yeah, I was eating plates as big as a guy, and it was just not worth it. It's just 100%. What was your experience?
My experience, I just ended up fat.
Yeah, same.
And I think this is people think by all of a sudden packing on loads of weight, that all of a sudden packing on loads more muscle.
I've gained the weight. You're getting fat.
I'm going to keep it really freaking simple right now. If you're in the gym and you want to build muscle, as long as you're getting stronger, you're building muscle. Done.
Yeah, for sure.
Done.
Yeah. And it is how much nicer it is for you to build muscle when you maintain. But the problem is, obviously, we're in a generation where bodybuilding is such a big thing on Instagram that you, as the everyday woman, feel that you need to do exactly what they're doing. So you talk about a diet like a cut, you look at dropping your carbs like they're doing. Is that you've got to remember that that's an extreme sport, and everything they do is extreme, and it's not healthy for the everyday person. They know it's not healthy as well. So it's like, you're not them, so don't worry about what they're doing and focus on yourself. But it's just the generation that has come in.
I like the phrase of stop bulking and start main gaining. Most people maintaining and gaining.
Yeah.
Main gaining.
Main
gaining.
Sounds like mangina.
Mangina. But I think the biggest thing that most guys particularly do is they get to a position where they're fairly lean, and all of a sudden they flip the switch of like, I want to bulk. And then they just actually end up gaining loads of body fat and gaining a little bit of muscle at the same time, but gaining way more body fat than they actually need to. But then they get to the point where they're actually not comfortable anymore. They're not confident, which is where they wanted to get to in the first place.
Back where they started,
essentially, maybe with half a kilo more muscle. Okay, if they're lucky. And then all they end up doing is actually having to diet so hard to get all of that body fat down that they end up losing all the muscle that they worked so freaking hard to build in the first place, when they could have just stayed in reasonable shape, got crazy strong in the gym, not felt like shit, then not had to diet away their muscle. People end up in this vicious cycle of bulking hard, cutting hard, going somewhere, then back, somewhere, then back, somewhere, then back.
One of the biggest things that people forget to do in that process, learn how to actually fucking train.
Yeah.
It's people want to do a bulk, you want to do surplus, but you're not even hip thrusting more than 50 kilos and your weights are not moving in the gym. You don't know how to train in the gym. The best thing that you can do is actually learn how to train and start eating protein first of all. Two of the most important things is that women, some of my clients send me a picture and they're like, I want to look like this. And I'm like, you're eating 70 grams of protein a day and you're barely going to the gym. So how are we going to do that? You got to, before you even think about doing what the bodybuilders do, at the end of the day, you have to start training like a bodybuilder if you really want to build muscle. Fair play to them, they train with some incredible intent. So you have to learn how to train first and eat the protein. And if you give that enough time, when you give that 14, 16 weeks of consistently doing that, you will see the muscle build, and you'll see it build so much better when you're at maintenance because you're not covered in fat.
Yeah, you'll actually see the
change. Yeah, whereas when you're bulking, you can't see it. So you're like, is it fat? Is it muscle?
Yeah. You also don't gain muscle anywhere near as quickly as everybody thinks.
No, it takes a long time.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, arguably one of the best bodybuilders of all time. Incredible genetics, perfect training, perfect nutrition, shitloads of steroids, okay? He'd be lucky if he could gain 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds of muscle in a whole year.
Yeah.
Do you think you or me, with probably average genetics, definitely not perfect nutrition, definitely not perfect training, because we're all human, okay? Also, like a pina colada every now and then. And you're going to do well if you can gain 3 or 4 pounds of muscle in a year, and you're going to look significantly better for that. So just, again, comes back to what Anna said about focusing on that long term, and just learn from our mistakes here, and please don't fuck up.
Have we got any more fitness mistakes? I think, do you know what? We may as well go one more each for sure. Mine was that I never did the maintenance phase after a diet. That took me years to get over that. I did this bulk and then I lost all the body fat, but I dieted really well, but I lost it all. And then I got to a point where I was like, I've got this. Everything's good. I feel great. I don't need to worry about that anymore. And I let go of my tracking. And it was because obviously when you come out of a diet as well, you're so adapted to eating like 1,500 calories. You then, of course, you do become a little bit fearful of the calories going up. So rather than tracking the calories up, what you do is you shy away from it and you don't track your calories, and you then end up consuming way more than you need to. And that's when the body fat creeps back. And that's one of the biggest problems that women have when they come to training with Anna, is that they say, I've lost the body fat, I know how to lose body fat. And most women's problem is not losing body fat. Like, we all know how to lose body
everyone's
fat.
A professional dieter. What you're not a professional is a professional maintainer.
Yeah, and that was the biggest learning lesson for me. And it took me a lot to get where I am now, whereas I can say I'm chief maintainer, aren't I?
You are like captain maintain, like it's ridiculous.
In the 63s, low 64s, 12 months.
Most people actually like don't realize what maintenance is. And my definition of maintenance would be if you can hold your body weight within about 5%. So if you're 60 kilos, can you hold between 60 and 63? If you're 80 kilos, can you hold between 80 and 84? Because life happens, weight fluctuates. It's just not realistic to go bang. Okay. But if you can actually maintain that, and also think just creating that guideline, if you're creeping up on that, it gives you a very black or white objective. Say, oh shit, what's going on? What have I started doing? What have I stopped doing? And why have I crept up here? And you go, sort your shit out. If you're lower, you've probably got a bit more flexibility.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing to give people a bit of a takeaway is when you finish a diet, don't get rid of everything that's got you there and have a slow exit strategy. So if you are getting overwhelmed with tracking all the time, just drop to 6 out of 7 days a week. Do that for a couple of weeks. If you manage to maintain, great. Drop to 5 days. Then maybe you just track 2 or 3 days, but you still keep your meal structure in place. You eat similar foods. You still get your steps in. You keep the healthy habits that you've worked your fucking ass off for the last 12, 16, 24, 6 months, year, whatever it might be, to get there. Don't throw it out the window. It's
like when we were speaking to Jen, and it's saying about the journey of change only starts when you finish your diet, because it for your conversation, like when you diet, you've got really good at dieting, so you've got really good at living a life in a diet. When you finish your diet, you haven't got good at living a life maintaining. So you have no idea how many calories you need to consume, how flexible you can be. And there's only going to be a point that you can, your first reaction is like, oh, I'll just take my calories up by 100 a day because I'm not that hungry, I'm fine. But you're not fine. You're not going to be fine, because as soon as you start to introduce foods or you go out socially more, there's going to be a tipping point where you actually can't cope with it anymore, and then you're just going to go in. Because your body is going to be craving things that are high in fat, high in sugar. They digest well, and it's going to fill you up. So that's your body's natural cravings. So once your body starts sensing those, it's going to be like, okay, I need this back because I need to feel full. I need my energy back. And that's the biggest problem that so many women have, is that you diet and then you're like, yeah, fuck it, I'm done. I am done. You're like, and then, it goes 4, 5, 6 weeks and you're like, yeah, I'm living life like this and I'm not gaining.
All of a sudden.
It will come. Yeah. And then next thing you know, you're 2, 4, 6, 8 kilos up, 10 kilos up, and you're right back where you started.
And you're beating yourself up because you've done it again.
Yeah. But you just haven't learned how to maintain. And that's the hardest bit. It's the freaking hardest bit.
Getting in shape's easy. Eat less, move more, do it for a little bit of a time.
I couldn't eat less than 2,000 calories.
In theoretical form, it's simple. Maintaining is harder. But guys, let us know. What was your biggest mistake you've made in your health and fitness journey, or what stands out most for you?
Lovely. Thanks.